Alrighty, so this is gonna be my first how-to video on a vehicle. Really my first how-to vehicle ever. So this is a 2002 Chevy Blazer. I'm going to be replacing this upper control arm here. I have already done the other side, and I'm glad I did, because that was a bitch. And this one is going to be a lot easier. As you can see, I've already gashed myself a little bit. Definitely watch out for this thing. It will hurt you very badly. So, let's see here. I can give you all a good idea of how bad these are. There's that one, and that one's completely flattened. And that one's really dry rotted. And I haven't never looked at this one, but it looks just as bad as the rest. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do this one, because I've looked for videos online, I've tried to find tutorials, and it just seems like there aren't any. This is not going to be a very good video by any means, but I will try my best. So I will do, first thing, is go ahead and take the tire off. Make sure you have it jacked up wherever you feel is safest. And then we are going to pop this clip off. Oh, one thing that I do is my little safety measure is I put the tire underneath there. It might not be the best, but hey, at least you know it's going to stop it. It may hurt your tire, but hey, a tire is better than your life or the rest of the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. It's pretty hard to do this with one hand. Oh, there it went. Just pop that clip out. Just pop it off to the side. And what I first did was work on these nuts in the back. There's this one right here. And then there's, let's see. That to show. And this one on the right. You need to get those first two off, and then you can work on the upper ball joint, having it removed. It requires a 3/4 wrench. You can try using a socket. I would just rather use a wrench because it's hard to get the clearance and the long enough socket for it to actually work. So I just use a wrench. It's a lot more time consuming, but it does do the job. We'll be right. Alright. So once you get them two bolts off the back there, you need to keep in mind that there's 2 washers in the back, and then 4, let's see, this one has 1 more than the other one did. 2, 3, 4, yeah, this one's got 5 washers in the front. Just keep in mind what washers are what. I don't know if they have to specifically be in that kind of order, but because I just did them all flush. Because the other corner of this one's curved. And after that, you want to start working on your upper control arm, or the upper ball joint, getting it popped off, and then separating it from the hub. Alrighty, so I got the pin out, and we're about to work on getting the nut off. So, getting the pin out is probably the easiest part. Just got to make sure it's straight and twist as you pull. In order to get that bolt off for the lower or the upper ball joint, you're gonna need a 7/8 socket. And this one, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the 3/4 one, depending on what you got. It's going to need a bigger wrench, at least in my case it does, than the one that's used before. Alright, now once we get this upper ball joint nut off, I'll show you how we can pop it from this housing here. There's so many different ways to do it, but this is the way that I just did it not very long ago, and it seemed to work fine. Just depends on what your experience is, what works best for you. I'll show you what worked best for me. Okay, so I got the nut off. Didn't take very long at all. It's in fairly good weather, so these things don't rust as bad when they're typically from Arizona, Texas area. It's kind of dry out there. It doesn't get a lot of rain. So what you want to do is you want to line it up with the lower ball joint. But of course, you definitely don't want to use this, that thing right there. Plus, it would probably slip if you put it anywhere else in that general area. So what you want to do is you want to get a board. This is from a wood post fence. And I use this area. I kind of missed and did go through the wood a little bit. Hey, it doesn't really hurt it. Especially it being in wood. No big deal. And, you know, just line it up to where it'll fit into that hole without hurting the grease point. And then make sure it's nice and tight here. I already did. And then jack her up. Set the phone down real quick. Okay. So I got it to where it's nice and flush. So as we lift, you're going to notice that gap becomes a lot wider. Okay. Now, what I did is I got something of general thickness. Use this right here and waited till I can get it in there. Okay. So we're not going to care about that metal. This metal, nobody cares if it gets bent because we're replacing it. This metal will not bend. It is solid steel. It's no big deal there. It's not going to hurt anything. And hey, if it pops beforehand, no big deal. It just popped off. Okay, it does look a lot better than the other side did. The other side was completely smashed up in there. So this one might pop with just this one. We'll see. So what you want to do is you want to relieve the pressure. And this, where we put it in that gap there, it's going to separate it and then pop it from the socket. But I'm going to set the camera to where you can still see what I'm doing and show you what needs to be done so as to not cause any further damage. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see it. Okay, so that didn't work that time. I want to kind of keep on doing it till it finally pops for you. But for now, all we're trying to do is to get it to kind of slip a little bit, just to move a little, so that way we can fit something else in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip to that one, because I'm thinking that it's going to work. So as you can maybe see, I don't know, I can't check see if it's focusing correctly or not. This is a lot thinner than this end here. And this is propped up to where it needs to be. Now do be very careful when doing this. Like I said, there's probably a lot better ways of doing this. This is just the way that worked for me. Just make sure you don't get any tools hitting you in the face. Because this thing will pop, and as soon as it pops, you gotta be ready. Okay. They really get these things in there, that's for sure. So I'm just going to come back whenever it's finally done, because the gap has increased. It doesn't take as much propping up with the jack to get that same gap here. So I'll be back once I have popped this thing off. Alrighty, we got her popped off. I ended up leaving it with something in between it, and then just hammered it with a hammer, and it popped it right off. Yeah, this one kind of seems like it needed to be changed, the ball joint anyway. So let's go ahead. I already grabbed those washers because I can see it kind of freely moving around. Let's go ahead and grab these washers right here. Make sure you have them all. Make sure you remember which side that amount gets with the washers. Okay. Alright. So I got my washer sitting here. It also helps if you have some of this stuff. Mainly with taking off those bolts, it can help you tremendously. I didn't start out with this stuff, but I wish I had. Alright. Now it's all of a matter of getting this bar off of these bolts and then putting the new one on. I'll be back for that. Okay, so we got the last control arm out. That was the one from before. As you can see, the bushings on that one were pretty bad too. And here's the one that we just replaced. Oh, that one's really cracked. That one's pretty much gone. And here's the new one. So, one thing you will notice the difference, get them both turned over, is that they're missing this piece. And no, mine did not come with it. So, I'm just gonna pull this one out. You know, it looks old and broken, it's gonna have to do. And then just slide it in that sled over there. That should do it. So yeah, that's pretty well all you need to know. That's how to get it out. Getting it back in is reverse the steps. About the only thing I could recommend is using the jack to move the hole up for where the control arm will set. That'll keep it in place. You can, you know, kind of work around that. Other than that, I don't think I need to record anymore. That is the best way that I've found to get it off. I've worked on it now for an hour, and that's just getting it off. Getting it back on might take you another hour and a half. Just do be careful, because you can hurt yourself pretty good. I cut myself on this thing right here, and you know, always use jacks. I throw the tire into there for safety. Safety is the #1 priority here, because if you're not safe, then you know, everything's gonna not be good in the end. But I guess that should do it. I hope that was informative and helped anybody out. I kind of just had to jump in myself just to figure it all out. There's just so many different types of this. I've seen a lot of the 90s model ones, the tutorials for that, and I don't ever remember seeing them having the 2 bolts needing to be removed. So I just hope this helps somebody that's you know, a little scared to do it. Just need a little push, and I hope you all have a great day.